If y'all have never had these, immediately get them. They're so addictive though, that's why you see that big bag there, because I can go through a small bag way too easily. And for some reason, the big bag just helps me like portion out better. Before we get into the next song, which is Ronald Reagan Era, I wanted to do just like a quick, super short spark notes of some of the policies and things that happen due to the Ronald Reagan era. A couple of things that I want to point out specifically because it sounds a little familiar. One, the slogan that Ronald Reagan ran with was "Let's make America great again." Include like an infographic that this professor on YouTube did for one of his videos that I just got put onto. Shout out to one of my mutuals. I'll tag him in the comments so y'all go follow him. Ronald Reagan introduced something called Reaganomics during his time of presidency, and basically it like cut government programs, it cut taxes, it had like a lot of deregulation of industry and higher interest rates to control inflation. Um, and the attempt to control like the high inflation or to stop it sent the US into a recession. So again, a lot of this is sounding familiar. But also during this time, crack cocaine was introduced into poor neighborhoods, into Black communities, and you know, people were making a business off of it, as people have done for years and years and years. And this initiated the war on drugs and a lot of policies like mandatory minimums, meaning judges had no choice but to give people who were arrested for simple possession, had to get a minimum of like, 5 to 10 years in prison, just for, again, simple possession. This then fills prisons because people, during this time are doing what they can. They're making businesses out of this, doing what they can to provide for their families, provide for themselves, kind of like make it out. Um, and so having these mandatory minimums sends multiple people in the Black communities specifically to prison, and then they're institutionalized. And I don't think people realize how easy it is to become institutionalized and how ingrained it is in our, since we go to school. Like it starts in school. There's a reason why there's called a school to pipeline or school to prison pipeline, because it starts then. Now people are addicted to these substances, and they are, doing whatever they can to obtain them. It's just a trickle down effect, leads to more gang violence. Then the Ronald Reagan also militarized the police even more, and they would like barge into houses that were suspected of being, you know, crack houses, and like who's to determine, what that is, unless you have like evidence or intel, or like that you know specifically what's going on in there. But there were so many times where they would just barge into and ruin people's houses because they suspected, when all along like these people didn't have anything going. So much more effects that, the Ronald Reagan era had. Again, this was just a quick little spark notes. But I would definitely check out the professor's video that I'm gonna put his little infographic on, because um it kind of explains a little bit like the connection on how this kind of started more hip hop and like the rise of gangster rap and things like that. So let's get into the song.
No freedom while I roll my blunt, 'cause the kids just ain't alright.
Starts off with Ash Riser. He's like a rock artist and producer. He says, "We're far from good, not good from far. 90 miles per hour down Compton Boulevard. With the top down screaming, we don't give a F. Drink my 40 ounce of freedom while I roll my blunt. Because the kids just ain't alright." So again, he's describing this like young, wild, and free type of lifestyle. friends engaging with substances, being reckless, just due to the things that they may be dealing with on the inside. And then the interlude is Absol. He says, "Oh, ish," and something about to happen. And this ish and this sound like 30 keys under the Compton Court building. Hope the dogs don't smell. So 30 keys is another like term that is used to describe 30 kilograms of substances. And then so he's just kind of saying like Kendrick's music is dope. And when he says hope the dogs don't smell it, again you have canines that are often used to smell substances, and specifically during this time, the white powder was introduced. I know I already said it before, but I really don't know what you can and can't say on this app. First one, Kendrick says, "Welcome to the vigilante, 80s, so don't you ask me. I'm hungry, my body's antsy. I ripped through your effing pantry." Starting off by saying, like, welcome to the 80s, just like an age of vigilante, just chaos, basically. Um, when he says, "I'm hungry, my body's antsy," it could be literally like he may have been hungry during this time and anxious around what was going on, but also figuratively, just like hungry to make it to the top and doing what he can to, and to have that comfort, well, the money, which then brings about comfort in some way. Peeling off like a Zanny, examine my orchestra. Granny said, "When I'm old enough, I'll be sure to be all I can be." You ends Marcus can be washed up. Zanny, it helps kind of like ease the body and the mind, and could be saying that like the music is helping ease this anxiety, ease this anxious feeling. And then Marcus Camby is a basketball player that played for the Rockets. Um, Clearly was washed up. But this could also, it's also a homophone for Mark as can be. And Mark is a term used in the Black community as like fake whack. It's an insult in the Black community. And so when he says you ends Marcus can be, it also can sound like Mark as can be. He says, "Fix your panties, I'm Mr. Marcus. You gettin' effed, You ain't heard nothing harder since Daddy Kane. Take it in vain, Vicodins couldn't ease the pain." So Mr. Marcus is an adult film star. And so he's saying, like, you're getting effed by me. Daddy Kane is also known as Big Daddy Kane, which was a rapper and an actor who was kind of like one of the goats, one of the main starters in the hip hop industry. And when he says take it in vain, this could be like vein as in VAIN, but also in your vein that you have like in your arms and stuff, referencing towards substances that you would do that with. I don't know if I can say the full name of it, but it's starts with an H and ends with an heroin. Vicodins is another painkiller he's saying that isn't strong enough to kill the pain that people are experiencing. He says, "Lightning bolts hit your body, you thought it rained, not a cloud in sight, just the ish that I write." So he's also kind of saying here that like when he says lightning bolts, this is like again electrifying. I make music that electrifies, just kind of restating that whole sentiment. Strong enough to stand in front of a traveling freight train, are you trained? To go against Dracula, drag in the record industry by my fame. I think it's interesting, like going back at this time, that he mentions Dracula, which is a vampire, a supernatural being, and I wonder if he's saying like, "Are you prepared to go against Dracula, aka Drake?" Both starting with a D, and taking down the industry. And fangs are meant for ripping things apart. And then, in 616, Kendrick says, "As I pick the carcass apart." He says, "AK clips, money clips, and gold chains." So referencing guns, money, and jewelry. But it's just so interesting now that this can be a reference towards the academics tapes, the AK clip. Walk around with a P90 like it's like in the 90s. Bullet to your temple, you're homicidal, remind me. So a P90 is a type of gun. And then we get into the chorus with Kendrick Lamar and RZA. And RZA was a part of the Wu-Tang Clan, a rap group that was again like one of the goats of hip hop, and kind of was doing what Kendrick is doing now, releasing music when they weren't really under like a major record label. But the chorus is kind of an interpolation of the Wu-Tang Clan song Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to F with.
Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. Ghetto and to hide as I step inside the room. Dr. Doom, prepare for the boom.
And ain't nothing to F with. Bompton Pyrus ain't nothing to F with. Compton essays ain't nothing to F with, but they F with me, and I love it. And then it goes whoop de whoop, whoop de whoop, whoop de whoop, whoop de whoop, whoop de whoop. That chorus, he's just kind of like calling out the gang culture in LA and just kind of stating that like they're really nothing to mess with. You can't be messing around in the wrong neighborhoods and calling people out, like, it's real around there. But all of them seem to mess with Kendrick because he's authentic, They can, and the whoop de whoop part, it kind of sounds like police sirens. To verse 2. Kendrick says, "Let's hit the county building, gotta cash my check, spend it all on a 40 ounce to the neck." And in retrospect, I remember December being the hottest. He's kind of describing how, like, as soon as he gets his check, he's going and spending it on drugs and alcohol, things to help him feel better about what he's seeing and going through, which ultimately will just lead you into continuous poverty because you're not putting it towards, future investments and things like that that can bring about further wealth. It says, remember December being the hottest. He means as in regards to like the block being hot, which is another saying in the black community that just means like there's a bunch of police around. It says squad cars, neighborhood wars, and stolen Mazdas. Also around December, more people are stealing for Christmas. But again, squad cars being police, neighborhood wars in reference towards gangs, and stolen Mazdas, people just stealing. I tell you, MFers, that life is full of hydraulics. So hydraulics in a car go up and down. He's just saying that life is full of up and down. And down, get a 6'4", better know how to drive it. I'm driving on E with no license or registration. Heart racing past Johnny because he's racist. 1987, the children of Ronald Reagan. So this was a reality for, a lot of people of color around this time because there was a lot of racism around. I mean, that hasn't changed as we see now. Um, and I do want to take the time to just shout out Marcellus and sending prayers to his family. Unfortunately, things like that happen every day in this justice system, and it's unfortunate that he had to be taken from us, from the world. But hopefully, more people will have more eyes and understand that just because there's a high conviction rate of one race over the other does not mean that that race was actually committing those crimes, especially when there's evidence that shows they weren't. Back to the verse, Kendrick says, "Rake the leaves off your front porch with a machine blowtorch. I'm really out here, my N. We blowing on stress, hoping to ease the stress, like really out here, my N." So this first line could be in reference towards white America, like the middle upper class, and how they didn't really get the effects from the Ronald Reagan era, or at least the negative effects from it. But it could also be him kind of talking about using a firearm, a blowtorch, another word for that, and it emits fire. He copping some blow, hoping that it can stretch. So not only is he getting the white powder, which is another word for blow, is another word for that substance, to use, but could also be to sell. So making it stretch, making his money stretch as well. He says, "Newborn massacre, hopping out the passenger with calendars, 'cause your day coming." So, in regards to the newborn massacre, this is a new age killer, which is drugs and substances. And he's saying it's only a matter of time before it's taken over you, and your last day is here. But also describing like running up on someone. He says, "Run him down," and then he gun him down. "I'm hoping that you fast enough. Even the legs of Michael Johnson don't mean nothing because." So Michael Johnson was a sprinter, and so he's saying like even his speed wouldn't get you away from being gunned down. This could also be reference towards police violence. Kendrick and Absol end with a refrain: "Can't detour when you at war with your city, why run for it? Just ride with me, just die with me, that gun store right there. When you fight, don't fight fair, 'cause you'll never win." right? I had the yopper and I tore they butts up. Can't detour when you're at war with your city. Why run for it? Just ride with me, just die with me. That gun store right there. When you fight, don't fight fair, cause you'll never win. Yeah, yeah. It kind of sounds like to me Kendrick explaining what it's like to grow up in neighborhoods where gun violence is rampant, where just violence in general, whether it's from the police or between neighborhoods, and when you're hanging with your friends, how easy it is to get pulled into that peer pressure and like you kind of have to go along with it in order to fit in and not be like exiled, you know? So like you kind of have to know what it's like and be around it in order to survive. You know, you have to know the right things so you don't say something wrong or again end up in the wrong neighborhood, and also need to have measures of protecting yourself. Kendrick just says whoa 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 whoa. He says, "We really out here, my N. You ends don't understand, my N. I'm off a pill and Remy Red. Trippin'." So a pill is in reference towards ecstasy, and Remy Red is like a drink. So when you have ecstasy and you drink it, it enhances the trip. So he's just saying, you know, he's out here lit. It's the end of Ronald Reagan era. The samples from this song, "I'd Be So Happy" by Three Dog Night, 1974, and "Chitlin' Strut" by the Backyard Heavies, 1972, and then of course Wu-Tang Clan, "Ain't Nothing to F With" by Wu-Tang Clan from 1993.